This is Rivalry Week with Danny and Dusty.
Now we'll throw it. It's caught. Tez Johnson inside the outside of the 15 on a juke to the 10, to the 5. He got to the pylon. Touchdown, Tez Johnson.
Bud Light presents a Rivalry Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus.
Rivalry Week with Danny and Dusty.
Back to throw. Gabriel steps up, gonna run. Got a block. 10, 5. Dylan Gabriel. Touchdown, Oregon.
On the Odyssey app and 1080.
Really in the name of
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, welcome in. Happy Monday.
I could have synced that one up to the music.
How's everybody doing?
Great. Now I got some
I
rage
love
to
it. We got
start
some
my day.
rage. That's what I'm talking
Figured
about.
that'd be a
Jeff
good
Rust.
kick-ass start.
No, that's
for Rivalry Week.
Let's go.
I'm
Managed
in.
to work in the killing in the name of right before the 1080 The Fan.
You kidding
That's
me?
right.
Yeah, that's why they pay me those medium-sized bucks.
That's right, buddy.
Yeah.
That's right, buddy. How we all doing? Everybody good?
Good.
Yeah.
It's a good weekend.
Yeah.
I had a weekend day off, so
Oh,
those are few and far between. during
I had a
basketball
2-day
season.
weekend.
Yeah,
Those
look
are few
at
and
you.
far between. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
Way to go, Jeff.
Jeff Rust,
Yeah.
2-day weekend.
Way to go.
It's a little. It's the little things that matter.
It didn't go so good for Dusty.
Oh,
Yeah, my weekend sucked. Yeah.
There's a
My
reason
weekend
why he no
sucked.
longer has a mustache.
That's right. That's right. That's right. My Braves lost. We lost in the semifinals. It was a great run, great season. 22-15. That sucked.
how was the weather in the end?
It snowed during pregame, and that got us all going. It was fun. And then it was just a little bit cold over in Central Oregon. We played in the semifinals against Burns,
That'll happen there.
Kellen Clemens' crew.
Yeah.
He wasn't there, but it's the
Still
only
his
person
crew.
only person I know from Burns.
Yeah, right.
So, we lost to the Burns Highlanders, 22-15 in the state semifinals.
Well, there can be only one.
Highlander. Yeah. So I've been pretty miserable to be around since Saturday evening. But I'm glad to be here. You know.
There we go.
Yeah, there was a lot of great football though that we caught up on. We watched, was able to watch a lot on Saturday, and then yesterday NFL was great, but I couldn't enjoy any of it because that's what happens when you coach, and that's one of the great things about coaching high school sports is that you get emotionally invested, and your happiness depends on teenage
losses.
kids. And you sit there and you think, what could I have done?
It just ruins the rest of your weekend.
Yeah. Because tackling a high school kid coming off the sideline probably going to be frowned upon. But I thought about it. You know, you think about those things.
You start thinking, well, maybe Tanya Harding did have it right.
Well, who was it that did it in college?
Woody Hayes.
Woody Hayes. Well, where is it at?
Well,
maybe not
Woody
the
Hayes.
tackle, but
Woody Hayes gave a forearm to a Clemson player that came off the sidelines.
But much more recently, there was somebody tripping somebody.
Oh, Mike Tomlin.
Was it Tomlin?
He in an
Why did I
NFL
wanna
game,
say it
he
was
was
like-
watching the video board, and the guy ran into him.
Not
on
to
a
throw
punt
either
return.
one of these guys under the bus, but why did I think it was like a Kalani Sataki or a Tosh Lapoy or something?
I don't
Am I
know
completely
about
off
that.
base?
I don't remember that. I
All right.
remember Mike Tomlin getting run into.
Gotcha.
And being like, whoa, I was just watching the play on the video board as I'm on the field. You know?
Right?
Yeah, that one was
happen.
tough. I
Those
remember.
things
I remember
happen.
that one. Going, come on, man.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
yeah. So, other than that, it was a really good weekend for me, though. Really good weekend.
Other than my soul being ripped from the pits of my body,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. You know, there's something to, the fact that you invest a lot of time in, and you want the best for all of the kids that are there, and then you see like the seniors after every season comes to an end, and very, very rarely does it happen where you end up on the happiest of notes, right?
Only one team does.
Only one team does. And when you're at a place for a long enough period of time where you see and you get to know these kids that come into a program and they come in as middle schoolers.
Yeah.
And then you get to see them grow, develop, and turn into young adults. Like there is an attachment that you get to these kids, and you realize that you're now sending adults off. And what does it mean, and what did they get out of playing, in this case, high school football, and the lessons that they can kind of translate over into their life. And I'm really lucky that I do get to have my soul ripped out annually. It sucks.
It's a lot like buying a
love
dog. It's buying grief.
Yeah.
You know in the end it will rip your soul away from you.
You're damn right. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, all the joy that you get along the way.
Yeah. And then you talk to you always have that decompression. You talk with your family because you actually get to see them on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
You're around.
Yeah. Hey, you're here.
Yeah.
And then you realize how invested, like as your kids get older, how invested your kids get into it. Right. And they realize my son and my daughter are both like all in 100%, hearing, my daughter talk about how I miss a lot of your soccer games. She's like, I don't care. She's like, the best part of my week is when I get to hug you after a football game. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's like, all right, so maybe I'm not missing everything in this world. And it's really cool to kind of to go through that. It sucked though this weekend, and we got a great group of kids, got a great community, and wouldn't want it any other way.
No,
it's awesome. So
and they're lucky to have you, man.
Love the Braves. Love the Braves. We got a lot that we need to get to. All right, enough of this sentimental stuff where we go through me in my feelings.
It's a good place. It's a good place.
The
for this.
Oregon State Beavers. Damn it! What a game on Saturday night.
We owe apologies.
No, I apologize for nothing. But
well, look, I mean, that turd was kind of swirling there for a while.
No, I apologize for nothing because you could tell the way they came out on Saturday night. They felt exactly like everybody else that watched what they put on the field at Air Force, and they wanted to rectify it.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to talk about the Beavs because we discussed this on Friday. Like, if you win one of those two games to end the year,
big deal.
It is a big deal because of the 5 games that they lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes a long way to instilling the confidence back in Trent Bray, right? And that he can get these guys going in the same direction. And that 5-game skid, boy, that sucked for Oregon State. But the way they did it against Washington State, that was awesome. We need to talk about and give the Beavs their flowers. Somebody may apologize. I apologize for nothing. I just called it like I saw it, and that was the 28-0 lackluster effort in Colorado against Air Force. You got to be fair, right? And they sure as hell got back on the right track with the win over Oregon State or Washington State. Chaos week in college football.
Good God, every single thing that I think we talked about happened.
It really did.
Like every single thing.
Yeah. What's the SEC going to complain about now?
I mean, they'll find something.
Oh, they're going to.
But
you're already seeing it today.
Lost.
You're already seeing it today. Well, a 3-loss SEC team can't really. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Go home.
No,
go home.
I don't care about your schedule. No.
Because the SEC is so tough, top to bottom.
No. Don't give me that. Then you know what? You guys shouldn't have gone and pilfered the Big 12 and said, the Big 10 right now, you're looking at a team that was in the much maligned Pac-12 going to be playing for a conference title in your conference. The Big 12, you're going to have a Pac-12 team. You could have 2 Pac-12 teams potentially playing in the Big 12 title game. The SEC, you're going to have a former Big 12 team in your conference championship game. The ACC, you're going to have a former American Athletic Conference team in your conference championship game. You don't get the right to complain about your conference being so tough when you went and destroyed other conferences to get tough.
Mm-hmm.
You lose that. You lose that ability, especially when that team in Texas has only played one team with a winning record.
Is that
You
is
don't
that a lot?
Don't tell me that your conference is so deep and so tough when you have a team playing in a conference championship game that will have, well, after this week, 2 games against teams with winning records. No, not gonna buy it. Not gonna buy it. Not gonna buy it. So we had a chaos week in college football. It was feisty. It was a sneaky little week in college football.
I might have to find 30 seconds to sneak in Cooper Flag talk to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going to get it because we also have Indiana turned into a pumpkin.
No, that was not good.
Yeah. And that was a statement by Ohio State,
It was.
especially on the defensive side of the ball.
I did not like said statement, but they made one.
Okay. They made it. It was a emphatic win over the Indiana Hoosiers. And then Kurt Cignetti's press conference was gold.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was just sheer gold. Is this a serious question that you're asking me? All right. So let's get to it. Where we got to, and we do got to talk about the Blazers because Blazers got that split in Houston.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. We only saw that coming.
The least surprising result imaginable. Also, we do have some mild breaking news.
Oh, we do?
John Morant is going to play for the Grizzlies tonight against the Blazers.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be out for over a week.
Another week, yeah.
Wow.
So, there
All
you go.
right. Well, we got that.
Oh,
going
Bird
for us.
Bones is going to play tonight.
Wow. All right. Well,
Bet you that line just shifted.
got a lot of jokes. A lot of jokes I was ready to fire off and not going to do. I'm not going to do. I'm a better man than that.
Yeah.
We also,
What, you mean bird brain?
we have a lot of NFL talk that we need to get to as well because another crazy weekend in the NFL. Bryce Young almost beat Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, what the hell
Had that
happened
on your
there?
bingo card. And then we have the rookie quarterbacks. The rookie quarterbacks had themselves a day. Whoa, Nelly. All right, where we got to start though? Let's start with those Oregon State Beavers. They knock off Washington State, and gosh darn it, they deserve their flowers today. This is Danny and Dusty on the Fan. The Oregon State Beavers knock off Washington State 41-38, putting an end to a 5-game losing streak and officially crowning themselves Pac-12 champions.
Pac-12 champions, baby.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That's a hell of a win for Oregon State. I mean, it not only is it just ending the 5-game losing streak, but you saw glimpses of that team that we said, hey, they may not be what they were last year, but they are going to be a team that could give some people headaches. They could give some teams some fits. And we had not seen that, since early in the season. This 5-game losing streak, that's a tough one to break. And especially when you're coming on the heels of 28-0 rout in, Colorado Springs? Nowhere? Yeah, Colorado Springs, Air Force. At Air Force, where you barely muster 100 yards of offense, and you come out in the way that the Beavs did it. I think kudos to them, because there were apprehensions, there was consternation over this staff and being able to maximize the talent. Very similar to what we saw with Chauncey Billups when he called out the Blazers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You saw there was a reckoning in that Oregon State program after that performance at Air Force, and they responded in kind. The opening drive, it just looked night and day from anything that we saw in Colorado, or anything that we've seen
most of the season
for over a month.
Yeah.
And hats off to that staff and those players for getting it back on the right track.
I did not give them a chance in hell. I thought the line was too tight. I don't care if it was at Reeser. Just watching them against Air Force, who is not a good team, absolutely dominate them in a way that they should not be able to dominate them. I was like, I know you can fluctuate week to week, and we're talking about kids and all those things, but Air Force is a bad program this year. And the way that they handled Oregon State, I was like, there's just no, as explosive and as dynamic as Washington State is with Mateer at quarterback, I was just like, this line should be like 16. I thought this was going to be an absolute housing.
Yeah.
I'm more surprised not only by Oregon State winning, but that they put up 41. Now, Washington State is not a great defense. Like, we've seen many teams score them, but I didn't think Oregon State would have the punching power to break as many big plays as they did. I mean, the 30-yarders, 40-yarders. That guy, they had like 6 20-yarders.
Well, and that just kind of when the game is in that back and forth, you got that tennis volley kind of momentum to it. You throw a pick six.
Yeah.
You throw a pick six, and it's like, oh boy. And then the rebound, the wherewithal to kind of, because at that point on a 5-game losing streak, in a game like that, if that play happens, right, that is the, oh boy, here we go again, right? Oh no, it's starting to unravel for us. We've got, 2 of our last 3 drives have ended in interceptions. This is it. This is how we go back down. No, they respond with the touchdown. They force a fumble. And then with 26 seconds left on the clock on senior night, Everett Hayes comes on and he kicks a 54-yarder to put you over the edge. Like, that was it was a ballsy performance by Oregon State.
No, it was.
And I love to see that, because we haven't talked a lot of Oregon State this year. It's not because I haven't been watching them. It's because
we didn't want to throw dirt on them.
Well, yeah.
You don't want to cover Oregon State got dog walked by an academy.
Yeah.
It's not fun. Like, look, we know there's a lot of Beaver fans out there, and you don't really want to hear that your school just got mollywopped by a bad team, and that everything is going wrong, and that injuries are piling up, and there's questions about the coaching staff. It's like, have your down year in peace.
Yeah.
If they're doing well, you want to kind of give them their flowers because of their circumstances, their situation. But it's like, this kind of feels like hiring a comedian at a funeral.
Yeah, it was a game that they needed in a big way. And we talked about this last week. A win in either one of their final 2 would go a really long way for being in a position where you have that little bit of momentum. Like, the worst thing in the world is to end this season on a 7-game losing streak, and everybody's jumping ship left and right. It gives you faith in Trent Bray. It gives you faith in the staff. They went out and Ben Goldbranson coming out being the thrower, Jabari Johnson getting his run, actually using his legs effectively in that game, and you have got that 2-quarterback system where it wasn't perfect by any means, but you were able to keep Washington State on their heels. And you have to be creative. And we saw that the fight was there. We saw a little bit more creativity. By no means was it a perfect game. We mentioned 2 interceptions in a 3-drive span for Oregon State. You have, at one point, the Hankerson drop where you're going, oh no, but they didn't quit. They never rolled over and said, oh boy, here we go again. Woe is me. Woe is us. They found a way to pull out a win. And if you're an Oregon State fan, you got to feel really damn good about it. You don't have to feel great about this season, but you can feel really good about that game. And
you're in a better spot. Sure.
Now you're 1 win away from being 500, 6-6,
bowl eligible.
Find yourself in a bowl, and you got Boise State, which the last 2 weeks they have not been perfect. They have not been this monster or this menace.
No,
they do have one in the backfield in Ashton Jeanty,
and things change when he leaves the field, which is what happened this last week.
You have got to find a way in Boise, hostile environment, hostile territory, where they have their sights on, a Mountain West Conference championship game, potentially getting a first-round bye in the college football playoff with the way that everything broke this past weekend in college football. Like, I still think it's an outside shot because look at where the ACC will be ranked. We're going to learn a lot tomorrow about what the committee feels about Boise State and how they feel about SMU and
I want to see
Miami.
how far Alabama plummets.
That was
falls off the face of the sun
that
kind
was
of deal.
That was a butt kicking.
I mean,
but for Oregon State, if you get a Boise State team that has played like they have the last couple of weeks where they flirted with disaster, and you come in with the resilience and the wherewithal that they did this past weekend against Washington State.
2-8 Wyoming team almost got Boise State this last week.
You're going Lloyd Christmas.
Yeah.
You're telling me there's a chance.
Look, if Ashton Jeanty's not on the field, that's what everything runs to for Boise State. And the second they start asking somebody somebody else to do more, it don't work.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is when Ashton Jeanty is on the field, there's just nothing anyone can do.
No, he is a force of nature.
Yeah.
He is and they are going to want to make a statement because they haven't looked good the last couple of weeks,
and they need to kick it up a little bit.
Boost him for Heisman. They need to boost their profile for
which after Colorado lost
playoff seeding.
Jeanty's back on top.
I don't. There's no way.
Colorado
losing should not
I
impact.
100% agree. But Jeanty jumped him pretty substantially last I looked.
Oh, really? I thought Travis Hunter was still plus 1,000. I thought I saw that somewhere, or minus 1,000 somewhere. But it was another chaotic week. Like for Travis Hunter, like really, we're gonna knock him in the Heisman race because Colorado lost to Kansas.
It's very dumb.
He had 8 catches for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Just because he didn't single-handedly at corner hold Kansas in check?
100%. Because Jalen Daniels was running all over them.
That's the corner's fault.
Yeah.
What is this?
What
is occurring?
It's all very dumb.
What is happening?
Yeah, it looks like he's minus 330 now.
Hunter is?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, well, minus 330, still a heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Still a heavy favorite. But, boy, that was a bad loss for Colorado. And now that wasn't the only bad loss in all of college football, though.
How many bad losses do you want to talk about next?
All of them. And where we got to start.
It's only a 3-hour show, guys.
Oh, buddy.
And where we got to start is in the Southeastern Conference, where, boy, they were barking all week long. They were yapping left and right.
Uh-oh.
And it did not go their way. First is Rust with SportsCenter. Hey,
Bud Light
the Raiders
presents
played the
a
Broncos.
Rivalry Week edition
Yes, thank you. I got
Danny
that
and
now.
Dusty.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Dusty and his snide comments. First on The Fan, Week 12 of the NFL wraps up with the Harbaugh John and the Ravens at Jim and the Chargers. 5:15 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. Raiders quarterback Gardner Minshew done for the season after suffering a broken collarbone in yesterday's loss to the Broncos. Head coach Antonio Pierce says Aiden O'Connell could be activated from injured reserve by Friday's game at the Chiefs. Defensive end Brandon Graham out for the season after suffering a torn triceps, in the Eagles' win over the Rams. Graham had previously said this 15th season would be his last. Oregon Ducks remain a unanimous number 1 in this week's AP poll. Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, all staying put at 2, 3, and 4. Notre Dame up into number 5 as Indiana falls to 10 after losing at Ohio State. And Arizona State rockets up 7 spots to 14 after beating then number 14 BYU. In the association, after a weekend split against the Rockets in Houston, the Blazers continue their road trip tonight against the Grizzlies in Memphis. 5 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle are both out. Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Murray, game time decisions. No Zach Edey, but Ja Morant now will play for Memphis. The Blazers are 11-point underdogs. ESPN Shams Charania reporting Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis will make his season debut tonight against the Clippers 5 months after having foot surgery. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Auto
All right, it was a wild weekend in college football. As Adam Schefter would say,
Carnage in the streets.
upset after upset after upset across the world of college football, including Oregon State beating the Washington State Cougars.
Yes.
Right? We just got done talking about that game. That was a big win for Oregon State.
The one upset we wanted to happen, Indiana over Ohio State didn't.
No, it didn't.
Looked good early.
Or Army over Notre Dame, but
Okay.
I said wanted.
Who in the world? You really tried to convince us all that Army had a shot. No, they didn't.
I knew they didn't.
They didn't.
I just thought if I spoke it into the world, it might.
It was 49-14 in Army.
Close.
It was not. It was nowhere close. Nowhere close. Still can't wait to go see Army Navy.
Oh, it's gonna be a blast.
It's gonna be a great one. Yeah. Because guess what? Army and Navy,
close.
Neither one of them are Notre Dame
No.
against Army or Navy, which that seemed to be lopsided in both of
But
those
Alabama
affairs.
might as well have been Navy against, or might as well have been an Army against Notre Dame, as getting absolutely shellacked by Oklahoma.
The SEC had been barking all week long
Goodness.
about how tough the conference is. They deserve it. They deserve it. Alabama, the 7th-ranked team in the country, picks up their 3rd loss of the year, a 24-3 beatdown at the hands of the Oklahoma Sooners. And think about this, too. This is an Oklahoma team that they were freaking out about their quarterback. They fired their play caller. They are in it. Like, they are sitting there going, we are reeling as a program.
Mm-hmm.
Is Brent Venables the right guy? 24-3. It was a game that isn't like, oh, if one thing goes this way or that way, maybe it's a little bit different. No, they kicked the living hell out of Alabama. And when's the last time a Kalen DeBoer team only scored 3 points, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple different things. Oklahoma ran the ball all over Alabama, which is an insane thing to say. I mean, they just lined up and said, good luck. It looked like what Alabama did to Wisconsin earlier this year, where they just like, we're going to run between the tackles. Good luck.
And look, it's funny you mentioned Wisconsin in that, because what we saw in the SEC is exactly why, the Wisconsin game being 16-13, find a way. It is really hard to win games this time of the year. I mean, the war of attrition kicks in. We always talk about, the SEC, that bye week, but they play, Sister Mary the Poor before they have a rivalry game. Well, there's a reason why they do it. It's so they can get right, get healthy, and they manipulate the schedule better than anybody. Like, they do. But guess what? They're picking up bad losses at the end of the year. Oof. Alabama was one. Ole Miss goes down to the swamp. It's hard to win on the road.
And we gave Napier his credit and said they've got it right. They've got Lagway back there. They're playing comfortable football. And then Ole Miss has kind of stepped on a landmine here or there. And boy, did they step on one. Real quick on the Oklahoma-Alabama game. Which program has more bad faith hope in their quarterback? Alabama or Oklahoma? And Jalen Milroe and Jackson Arnold?
I mean, I don't think that either one of them really do feel like they're comfortable. I mean, Jalen Milroe still puts up good numbers and has guided them to wins, but it's just not to their expectations because guess what? The rest of their roster isn't absolutely loaded anymore. No. That happens. I mean, 3 picks is a brutal way to go, but I mean, those were his first picks in over a month.
Yeah. 11 of 26.
Yeah. Like he isn't a Heisman candidate that he was hyped up to be at the beginning of the year. And look, Arnold wasn't either, but he ran the ball down Alabama's throat.
Oh my God.
He ran the ball down their throat. I don't think either one of them are comfortable right now, but this is the world of college football now. The power vacuum of the SEC is kind of losing its suction right now. Mm-hmm. And Ole Miss is another great example of that, right? I mean, they go down to the swamp, and look, I don't know how the SEC is going to try to spin this.
Because they will.
But they will. But you have that Ole Miss loss, and then you have Texas A&M losing in 4 overtimes to Auburn on the heels of Mike Elko, the head coach, who I love Elko. I think he's a damn fine head coach.
He might have oopsed that one.
Well, you think early in the week when we played the audio of him saying, "Oh, we're we're not overlooking Auburn right now. Our focus is on Texas. I mean, Auburn.
Oops. Good luck putting that cat back
And then
in the
you
bag.
go and you lose in quadruple overtime to Auburn because you drop in the end. I mean, you drop that two. Could that ball be in a better spot?
No.
I could hit him right in the chest, and it's just like, boom, done. Game over. Pick up their third loss. Now you have.
Which Marcel Reed was the right choice for A&M, by the way.
Huh?
Going away from Wegman.
Yeah. But you now have 3 teams that pick up their third loss of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but you lose
You're out.
any of your conversations because those are bad losses.
Mm-hmm.
Like Alabama, that's a bad loss to Oklahoma. And you know what won't happen now that happened earlier? Vanderbilt beat Alabama, and then all of a sudden they're ranked again. Well, they've come back down to earth.
Yeah.
Right? They're a good team. And very similarly, Oklahoma is a good team. They're not a top 25 team. We're all watching it.
Yeah, no.
We've seen what has
They're
happened.
not. I mean, we should only be talking about Texas, Georgia, Tennessee. That's it. That's it.
As far as being college football playoff.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get
3
3
teams.
losses, dog. Get out.
Yeah. And when you have bad losses mixed in there, when you lose to Kentucky and you lose to Florida,
And Auburn.
We are not going to. Well, yeah, I'm talking Ole Miss right now. Like, I'm not going to give Ole Miss the benefit of the doubt anymore. You know, like, I'm sorry, it's a 12-team playoff. If you thought that you were the 12 best teams in the country, you're not going to have 3 losses and get your way in and complain about it.
No.
Are they going to be better than a team that gets in? Yeah, but you got to handle the schedule that's in
business.
front of you. If you want to complain about how tough your schedule is, go join the Pac-12. They're looking for a team.
You can play,
Seriously.
you can play some lighter opponents.
Seriously,
Yeah.
if you want to complain about how tough your schedule is and woe is me, well, you play 8 conference games first of all, okay, and then you want to complain about, well, go join the Pac-12, win that conference, and you could do what Boise State's doing right now, which could be looking at a first-round bye. Go ahead and do it. I dare you to do it. Because if that is your complaint, you are in the SEC, you pillage the SEC and the Big Ten pillaged other conferences so they could get all of the money. What do you want? Do you want the money, or do you want to earn a spot in the college football playoff?
Are you ready for 2 ACC teams in the college football playoff?
Yeah, I am.
Because that's the road we're heading down.
Yes. Yeah. All right. And you're probably going to see SMU, Miami, or Clemson. Any machination of those two. Well, I mean, Clemson only has 1 conference loss right now.
Yeah.
And Boise State fans, cover your ears on this one, but we will learn a lot tomorrow about where the college football playoff is going to land on Boise State.
Because the game control yesterday was not good.
No.
Or Saturday. Not good, fellas.
No.
Not good.
And whoever they play in the Mountain West Championship game, it ain't going to be as good as the other wins. They're going to get jumped.
No.
They're going to get
look,
jumped.
and again, cover your ears, Beavers fans. The Boise State needs to pummel the Beavers.
Yeah.
To get the spicy points back.
I mean, Boise State is going to have a top 25 victory because Colorado State lost in the Mountain West, by the way. That happened this weekend. So you're probably going to get a rematch of Boise State UNLV, and it'll be a top 25 win for Boise, but it won't be a top 15 win, which is what the committee will look at, and they'll say, well, we looked at a quality win by insert ACC team here against a game opponent, and they're in, and they're going to get that first round bye. And that's the game that's going to be played because that's the deck is stacked against them. And so go out, convince Ole Miss to join the Pac-12 and take a big cut in pay and say, hey, you guys can complain about not playing such a tough schedule in the SEC and have a bunch of money, or you can go ahead and go to the playoff every year by winning the Pac-12. There
you go. I like it. See, we're solving multiple issues in college football all at once.
We really are.
That's what we do here.
Mm-hmm. It's how it goes down. There are a couple other big losses, and it's going to shape the Big 12 as well. Watch out. Hey, maybe that Pac-12 wasn't that bad after all.
Oh.
Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Hello, sports fans.
Big 12 saw chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. I love it. I love the fact that here we are at the end of the year, and this is how the college football world is panning out. The Big 12 race is a wild one right now, where if you look at it, Arizona State with a win over Arizona in the Territorial Cup, they can be in the Big 12 championship game with Kenny Dillingham calling the shots in year 2. The Big 12 very easily could have a 4-way tie with Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State. Okay? If that, all of them being 7-2 coming out of this weekend, the final weekend of the regular season. If that happens, Arizona State will be the 1 seed. Iowa State will be the 2 seed in the Big 12 conference title game in Arlington. Kenny Dillingham, back-to-back weeks, slayed some giants.
Mm-hmm.
They knock off BYU 28-23 with the students storming the field early. That's an Arizona thing, because that happened at the University of Arizona with Oregon, remember?
That's right.
And they had to pull everybody back, and there were students like on the field as Oregon ended up winning the game.
They made the joke at Arizona State they had to put the field goal posts back up because they'd already taken them down. It was like,
I think it's something to do with daylight savings time, and they don't do it.
I mean,
must be it.
It's desert brain, because like Arizona's a lot closer to being Florida man than we give it credit for.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. Arizona man is a thing.
No, for sure. Real quick, on a mild side note, Cam Scatterbo, got to see everything great about college football.
Yeah. Have you seen what his mom said a couple of weeks ago?
Mm-mm.
So he has an older brother,
Mm-hmm.
and he used to, like, when his older brothers were playing their games in football, he'd like have their old pair of shoulder pads with the brother that wasn't playing. He would put on shoulder pads and run into telephone poles.
That tracks if you watch how he runs.
Exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like, he was built for this.
Yeah.
This is what he's
They said
born
during the
to do.
broadcast that reason Dillingham went and got him out of Sacramento State was his balance when he runs. And like if you've watched Arizona State at all, Scatterbo, number 1, always falls forward.
Yep.
I've never seen that guy get knocked backwards. And 2, the first guy never takes him down.
Low pad level.
He wins every single time. Oh, and by the way, he's got breakaway speed. That cut, I mean, just absolutely left that dude's jockstrap in the dust against BYU when he housed it, and then went immediately up to the fan and signed a football. If that's unsportsmanlike conduct, I want more unsportsmanlike conduct in football.
Yeah, I think that is very sportsman, though.
He scores a touchdown, literally goes over to a guy with an autograph ball. It's got the white paneling on it, and he grabs the pen and signs it. That was dope as hell.
That's pretty sweet.
Loved it. Loved every bit of it.
Yeah.
Like Arizona State, man, like it got a little dicey there at the end as BYU kind of came to life, but they were dictating much of that game. Not just offensively. Like Sam Levitt made a couple of big time plays as a true freshman for him to, redshirt freshman. But for a freshman to play the way he was playing, it wasn't the best. It was 16-25. It wasn't huge, but like when you needed him to make big plays, he did.
Dude, Kenny Dillingham is a damn good coach.
He is. And it's like
he's gotten him to progress over this season, and that whole roster has improved over the course of the season. Like, they got something brewing there. Do you see that BYU has some infighting now within their fan base?
Oh.
So Kalani Sitake after the game, because BYU came out and they looked like a different team in the second half.
Yes, they did. Because the first half, it was very similar to the I keep calling this one out because it's burned into my head. It was USC Michigan, where Michigan just mauled USC in the first half, and then it was a completely different game in the second half. Arizona State beat the crap out of BYU in that first half. That second half, it was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, BYU outscored them 20-7 in the second half, and Kalani Sitake said that their linebacker Tyler Batty took charge in the locker room at halftime and gave a speech that kind of rallied everybody. That speech was leaked on social media, and guess what? It was in violation of the honor code, some of the words that he was saying.
Oh.
And so now BYU fans are torn because are we the choir boys that always honor the honor code? Or
do we care about football now?
Is that something that is disgraceful to us and we can't have this in our locker room. And so now they're torn over that. But in the end, didn't really matter because Arizona State now controls their own destiny, and the shine has come off BYU, which we saw. The committee didn't have much faith in BYU.
No, they said prove
anyways,
it.
And they have not proven it over the last couple of weeks. And now at 9-2 and 6-2 in Big 12 play, they do not control their own destiny. Nor does Colorado, because they picked up their third loss of the season, their second loss in conference play, to a Kansas team that we talked about this last week. It's starting to play like the Kansas team we thought that they were at the beginning of the year. Yeah. 2 great wins in a row over BYU and now over Colorado. And that was a butt kicking, man.
I mean, the big part of this is getting Jalen Daniels back. That's been the huge part of this. The other part of this is the DB that hit Shedeur Sanders like that should be in jail. How that wasn't a flag, how that wasn't a straight up ejection. That flag,
like
it's Dusty. You know how I feel about this stuff. Like I'm very anti-protect the quarterback. Blah 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 blah. That was such a maliciously late and dirty hit. He should have been thrown off the field.
Letter of the law doesn't fit it.
It was 2 steps,
and
it was
spirit of the rule. It doesn't even fit that either.
I mean,
he should have been flagged.
Thrown out.
Yeah,
thrown out.
Yeah.
Right. At his knees?
Yep.
I couldn't believe that Shedeur stayed in the game. I couldn't believe. I thought his ACL was gone. It was that.
He's tough, man. He's taking
a lot of hits. I give him a lot of credit because that was a nasty hit. Mm-hmm. It was a nasty hit. He came back in, stayed in, just fought through it, but their defense could not stop a cold. I mean, Devin Neal. Goodness gracious.
Kansas scored on every possession of the game.
Dusty, 37 carries in a game.
Well, they literally, guys, KU scored every time they had the ball.
I think it was KU, their punter is Australian, and his parents came all the way there to see him play for the first time, and they never got to see him punt.
Them's the breaks.
Hey, thanks for making the trip. But I mean, okay, think about this. As good as Jalen Daniels was, I can't remember the last time I saw a workload like this in college or anywhere. I mean, this is Derrick Henry in high school type stuff. 37 carries for 207 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. I mean, he was housing dudes. 3 touchdowns, 4 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
287 total yards, 41 touches.
But you know
That's nuts. Dusty,
Travis Hunter shouldn't be the Heisman winner because of that.
41 touches by himself is more plays than Colorado ran.
Yeah. It was...
My goodness.
Devin Neal, but he also... So much attention had to be paid to Jalen Daniels that he got clean alleyways, right? I mean, because Jalen Daniels was
that run from Jalen Daniels was incredible.
Eyes deep, undisciplined linebackers, boop, gonna dump it off. It is keeping undisciplined linebackers at bay with 6 carries for 72 yards, right? It was pick and choose your spots, and they said, we are not going to let number 6 beat us, and guess who did? Number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4, Neal was a monster.
I mean, the insane stat in this game, 40 minutes and 11 seconds. That's the time of possession for Kansas. When was the last time you saw, like, in a matchup like this where a team had a 2-1 time of possession advantage?
Well, Air Force and Oregon State a week ago, which was 28-0.
But again,
was it 41 minutes to change to 18 and something?
But I mean, a game like this where the talent level's a lot higher on both sides.
Yeah. No, it was a butt kicking of epic proportions. Like, it wasn't. And look, when Colorado did score,
I mean, Shedeur did what he's supposed to do. He's 23 of 29, 266, 3 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. Like, that's the thing about this too. This was a clean game. There wasn't like there was turnovers. Like, it was just they couldn't stop them.
Well, it can be really clean when the defense isn't putting forth much of resistance to one side.
Yeah, I mean, when your top 4 tacklers are literally your defensive backfield.
No,
that was the leading tacklers for Colorado.
Not good.
Problem.
Not.
You want to see a linebacker in there?
Mm-hmm. Very, very bad for you. Meanwhile, Iowa State, they held off Utah at the end. Boy, that game was nip and tuck at the end, and Utah gave themselves a chance to force overtime, but too little, too late. So we're looking at potentially Iowa State versus Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, just as everybody had predicted. We have to watch on how this week shakes out. Colorado plays Oklahoma State, which is 0-8 in Big 12 play. Arizona State has Arizona in the Territorial Cup. Iowa State has Kansas State, and that one could get a little dicey there, but it is in Ames. And then BYU plays Houston. The way BYU has been playing, I'm not going to rule anything out, but Houston is in the dregs this year.
I mean, we talked about the landmines that were going to present themselves for both BYU and Arizona State. And look, Houston is down, but it was still like, maybe. You could see something getting weird.
So I can't wait. I hope Arizona State does punch their ticket to the Big 12 title game. And I want to see all of the new teams. I want to see all of them playing for conference titles.
It'd be funny. Not going to lie.
It would be the most poetic thing, and I want to see as many Pac-12 teams as we can in there, because that would make it so damn fun if we had a bunch of former Pac-12 teams where everybody said not good football out west, and they go out and they find a way to win a bunch of conference titles. We do know a little bit more about the Oregon Ducks and who they may face in the Big Ten championship game, because Ohio State put a whooping on the Indiana Hoosiers. Let's dive into that game next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
KFXX, KWJJ, HD2, Portland, 1080 The Fan. An Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Red Tail Golf Center's holiday sale is going on now with up to 50% off all your holiday golfing needs. Red Tail Golf Center, where we guarantee the lowest holiday prices. Visit us at golfredtail.com. First on the Fan, Week 12 in the NFL wraps up with the Harbaugh. John Harbaugh and the Ravens at Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. That's a 5:15 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. Defensive end Brandon Graham out for the season after suffering a torn triceps in the Eagles' win over the Rams. Graham had previously said his 15th season would be his last. Raiders quarterback Gardner Minshew done for the season after suffering a broken collarbone in yesterday's loss to the Broncos. Head coach Antonio Pierce says Aiden O'Connell could be activated from injured reserve by Friday's game at the Chiefs. The Oregon Ducks remain a unanimous number 1 in this week's AP poll. Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, all staying put at 2, 3, and 4. Notre Dame moves up into number 5 as Indiana falls to 10 after losing at Ohio State. Arizona State rocketing up 7 spots to 14 after beating then number 14 BYU. On the hard court, after a weekend split against the Rockets in Houston, the Blazers continue their road trip tonight against the Grizzlies in Memphis. 5 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle are both out. Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Murray are game-time decisions for Memphis. No Zach Edey, but Ja Morant will play. The Blazers are 11-point dogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's the Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan. This is Rivalry Week with Danny and Dusty.
Now back to throw. Stop. Nobody open. Will scramble to his left. Now look to the middle. Throw it into the end zone. Was it caught? Yes! Touchdown! T-Ferg.
Bud Light presents a Rivalry Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus.
Rivalry Week with Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Back to throw. What? They gave it off. Handed the ball to James. Running right. Gets a block inside. 2-1. Touchdown, Jordan James.
The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Monday. Thanks for partying on with us. We're going over the chaos in college football, and Indiana may have turned into a pumpkin on Saturday. It started really well for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, no, for that first drive, I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
And it was all downhill.
Well, you
there.
force a 3 and out, and then you get the ball, and you march 11 plays, 70 yards. You take a 7-0 lead, and you're like, oh, okay. And then Ohio State said, no, we're done with that. The next 8 drives for Indiana football, after going 11 plays and 70 yards, 8 drives, 32 plays, 26 total yards. Their next 8 drives.
Is that good?
No, that is not.
Basically, Ohio State just kind of tussled their hair and said, that's cute.
Their offensive line got manhandled up front by Ohio State. And look, the defense for Ohio State, they looked the part. They looked every bit of what they were hyped up to be this year. And special teams, too. I mean, look, Ohio State's offense, I didn't really get a good gauge of what Ohio State's offense looks like without 2 of their starting offensive line, with Seth McLaughlin going down with that ruptured Achilles early in the week last week, because their offense didn't need to put drives together.
No.
They started 4 of their 9 drives offensively in Indiana territory.
Yeah, being in plus territory to start, and particularly, I mean, it's one thing in the NFL. It's a whole nother in college football when you have that boulder pushed halfway up for you.
Yeah.
Most teams, but especially good teams, they will take advantage of it.
And the way their defense was playing, it was just like, yep, well, I guess we'll just start in plus territory, and we're going to have a short field. There was one sustained drive that Ohio State had where they scored points off it. And I think it was a 75-yard drive in the third quarter. They had a drive early in the game where they ended up turning the ball over on downs. And then after that happened, Ohio State punted away, and it was another short field after that. Like, Ohio State's offense, I don't know. I still don't know how they're going to be up front without your starting center and your starting left tackle.
I don't think you learned anything about Ohio State in this game. I
learned about their defense, man.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, here's the crazy thing: if you look at if you just take a step back and you hadn't watched the game and you just look at the overall box score, dead heat in time of possession. They both turned the ball over once. Ohio State's in the negative on penalties. Indiana ran the ball 40 times, horribly. but they did run the ball 40 times. Like if I told you that, hey, Indiana has run the ball 40 times, that they went even in the turnover margin, and that the time of possession was pretty equal, was almost a dead equal, and Indiana beat them in the keeping the chains moving in the third down game, would you think that this score was 38-15?
No, but I also look at it and I say, well, there's a reason why they ran the ball that often is because I think entering the fourth quarter, it was they popped this graphic up on the broadcast where Curtis Rourke had 6 completions and had been sacked 5 times.
Yeah. He just they couldn't get rid of the ball.
They got mauled up front. And I think like that the performance of Oregon's offensive line against Jack Sawyer, Simon, and JT Tuimalau in that game at Autzen Stadium, it gets more and more impressive every time you watch Ohio State because those guys were not factors in that game. And can they replicate that in a potential Big Ten championship game? I don't know. We still now have 3 different scenarios, though, for who Oregon will play in the Big Ten championship game on December 7th. It is Ohio State. If they beat Michigan, they're in. They go to Indy. If Penn State wins against Maryland and Ohio State loses to Michigan, Penn State is in. If Indiana beats Purdue and both Penn State and Ohio State lose, it's Indiana that's in. So we're down from 10 down to 3 different scenarios for how the Big Ten championship game shakes out because of the dominating performance. Yeah, sure, we can.
Because, I mean, that game against Minnesota, goodness gracious.
Yep.
They Penn Stated incredibly hard.
Yeah, again,
tough to win this time of year.
Winning this time of year is really hard. I mean, look at across college football. I give credit to the teams that pull those games out more than the ones that end up losing those games. You know, was it pretty? No, it wasn't. But that's what Penn State is right now. I don't think they're the 4th best team in the country. I think they're a far cry from the 4th best team in the country.
I don't think they're a top 10 team.
I do, but their defense is good. Their quarterback is a liability.
Yeah. And if they didn't
has not improved one bit from last year.
No. And if they didn't have the sneakiest best player in the country in Tyler Warren, they would be
I mean, he was
Iowa.
He got hurt. He got dinged. He only had 2 carries in that game.
He had 8 catches for $102.
Okay. Well, didn't run the ball.
Yeah. Maybe he did get dinged up. I was watching it in the 4 box.
Use him as everything. He's their Swiss Army knife.
He's their Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. He would, except for like
4 inches
mutant, a mutant of Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, he's not the speedy guy, but they use him in so many different ways.
He's 6'6", 260.
Which again, why did they not just give him the ball against Ohio State on the goal line? Like just like 4 times,
just 6'6", 260, and it's not like it wasn't a gimmick of like, oh, let's give the offensive lineman the ball. It's like, no, this is a guy that you give the ball to regularly as a running back.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch that game. My eyes were elsewhere in college
I had it
football,
in the 4 box for a little bit just to see because it was close the whole game.
But if you win, that's all that matters because look at the SEC.
That's true. You could be the SEC and not win.
Yeah, I mean. Oops. And that's like the same thing with USC and UCLA.
Oh, like God,
that was a horrific game.
It was just horrible football being played.
Great uniform matchup.
Oh
though. But
one of the best there is.
USC's just not good.
No,
they're not.
No, they're not.
And they're taking a lot of pride in winning that game. It's like,
should you? The answer is no.
It's UCLA. You beat UCLA.
No, they're not good.
Yeah. But they won. They found a way to win. They pitched a shutout in the 4th quarter, and they get to own LA for another year. How about, did you see Nebraska putting up 44 on Wisconsin too?
No.
Yeah. They put up 44 on Wisconsin, and Big Red now becomes bowl eligible for the first time in 8 years.
Look at that.
Mike Riley, the last coach to take him to a bowl game?
I mean, did you see the end of the Rutgers-Illinois game?
Yes, I did. Boy.
Icing a kicker with a timeout. Then Illinois figures out with the wind, not going to be a kick he can make. Screw it. Let's go Hail Mary. Hail Mary lands.
Win.
Oh, no. Oh, no, Graciano. Had you not taken that time out, they don't check the wind a little bit more and go,
Yeah, we can't do
yeah,
this.
we can't do this.
But how about that? Rutgers finds a way to lose. And Brett Bielema and crew, they're now 8-3. They're going to get to a decent little bowl game.
Little bowl game, yeah.
All right.
Who they end the season with?
I don't know. Who really cares?
I mean, Northwestern, they're going to be a 9-3 team.
Golly. Northwestern.
Not good. 9-3 Illinois, though. Huh?
Northwestern gave up 50 points. Mauled up front.
To Michigan.
Mauled up front. Which, hey, maybe Michigan found something heading into the game. Right?
Yeah, it's called We Have a New Quarterback Next Year.
Yeah, they do. Paid him a lot of money.
Paid
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tom Brady sealed the deal. Did you hear that?
Yeah, Brady and Barstool coming together to make it happen.
Bryce Underwood said that his conversations with Tom Brady are what kind of tipped him over the edge to go to Michigan.
It wasn't the $11 million?
No. Did Tom Brady really butter him up by saying, hey, maybe you can also be benched
for a major league pitcher?
Yeah, and then
go in the 5th round.
Use that to fuel yourself and then get passed over as the 199th overall pick and know every single one of those guys' names and have their names in your locker for a 20-plus year career and become the best quarterback in NFL history. Just come to Michigan and do that.
Just do that.
Yeah.
Very normal.
That's the pitch? You think that's the pitch? All right. Crazy weekend in the Big Ten. Indiana. I honestly believe this. And by the way, the Ohio State scoring 31 unanswered, and then the next time that Indiana scores, they just say, we are going to put another one on the board with 35 seconds
make sure
left
we keep the gap.
and just crotch chop you on the way out. If Indiana lost that game the way that they did and all the other SEC teams won, I think you would have had a legitimate conversation of Indiana not being worthy of being in the playoff. The fact that everybody else lost,
they might be 12.
They might get in.
Yeah.
They could weasel their way into this thing with 2 more wins. And with one loss, yeah. Or do I think Ole Miss is better than Indiana?
Probably.
I do. But you know what?
It's
You lose 3 times.
And 2 of them are inexcusable.
And the strength of schedule, remember that was being criticized for Indiana. They went from like 108th to 51st just by playing one team. I did it.
Useful.
All right. Let's pivot from football. Let's take a deep breath. The Blazers split, and now we got injuries and car accidents, and what is happening with the Portland Trail Blazers?
Oh, no.
Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Weekend back-to-back with the Houston Rockets down in Houston. Saw the Blazers get rolled in game one, 116-88.
Ooh, boy.
The under was the play. If you go back and listen to the podcast on the Odyssey app, the under was everything in that game. It was like, what, 224.5? Yeah. No, didn't get there.
Just short, Bob.
Just a bit outside. But then the Blazers rebound, and they get a 104-98 win over the Rockets the very next day. And we had a kerfuffle with the Blazers and Dillon Brooks.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this stems from game one, where the Rockets taunted and stunted on the Blazers, talked a whole lot of S. And look, I mean, Dillon Brooks went 6 of 8 from 3 in that game. The game plan was let him shoot because he can't shoot, and he got lucky in one game and decided to let it all hang out and
beat him.
Does what Dillon Brooks does, and you tip your cap when somebody breaks your game plan because he's not a good shooter. And if their offense is running through Dillon Brooks, you live with that, right? The problem with that was, not only did he get off, Tari Eason did too. Tari Eason was 8 of 14, had 22 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals. He was a plus 33 in the game. He was a disruptive force of nature. Him and Amen Thompson were just disruptive as hell. And it was a game which, the Rockets shoot 45-39, 45% from the field, 39% from 3, hit 15 threes. And that's all she wrote, because Portland shoots 33% on the night, 11 of 43 from 3. I like the fact that they got up 43 threes. Didn't like all of them. That's kind of the deal there. But if you think about that, that means if they went 11 of 43 from 3 and 30 of 90 from the field, that means they went 19 of 47 from 2.
Yeah, that's who they
19
are.
of 48.
They've been really bad at
They're the worst two-point shooting. Yeah, the worst two-point shooting team in the league. Fast forward to the next night, and here's the thing: and if you've listened to me at all talk about these baseball series games, they almost always go 1-1. When you saw the Blazers beat the Timberwolves twice 2 weeks ago, that's the anomaly. That doesn't usually happen. When you get these back-to-backs.
I think the Blazers are just a juggernaut, and that's what we're learning.
Yeah, it turns out the Minnesota Timberwolves have a lot of identity issues. Did you see the Julius Randle not passing Rudy Gobert the ball?
No.
They're playing the Raptors. Gobert has Scotty Barnes walled off under the rim. And look, Gobert doesn't have a deep bag. He's not going to, you're not tossing the ball to go score. But Scotty Barnes might have well been in the shadow realm at that point. He was so far underneath the rim, all Rudy had to do was catch and turn. Like that's it. Well, Rudy decides after being looked off for 3 seconds, he's just going to stand in the paint. Gets a 3-second call. In a game that the Raptors then went on like a 14-1 run, and they ended up losing. But
yikes. Julius
is yelling at Rudy. Rudy's yelling at Julius. Ant Edwards decides he's yelling at Rudy. So vibes are just off there. So I again, you don't discount the Blazers winning both those games, but the Timberwolves they're in an identity crisis. But you go in the night too. And the identity for the Portland Trail Blazers is to get teams into rock fights. The Blazers win this game 104-98, right? The Blazers shot 38% from the field.
Not good. But they made 18 threes.
Again, 44 attempts, 90 total shots a night. Almost 50% of their shots in back-to-back nights were from 3. And this is where you can get into some variance and you can make some ground up. If you're going to be dog water at 2s, maybe you knock down enough 3s, because on the flip side of this, the Rockets go 8 of 32, 25% from 3. But the couple big things that came out of this night. In game 1 against the Rockets, Toumani Camara led the Blazers in shots. That can't be a thing. I love 2. That can't be a thing. Anthony Simons made his return that night. Scoot Henderson's out, which he was out for a thigh contusion, but also he got in a car accident.
Yeah, got rear-ended in an Uber.
Yeah. I've been told he'll be okay.
Or a Lyft.
No big deal. Rideshare was the official vernacular used. But you had some of the outlier performances in game 2. Donovan Clingan had one of the crazier stat lines in modern NBA history with 19 rebounds and 0 points.
3 block shots, too, to break Bill Walton's record for consecutive games with a blocked shot.
Yep.
He also got hurt.
Yes.
What's going on
he's
there?
He's got a knee sprain, I've been told, a week or 2.
That sucks.
Yeah. So the Blazers went from having 4 centers to 2 very quickly, and one of them can't play back-to-backs. But the good news is the Blazers don't have a back-to-back again until January.
Okay.
So there you go.
You got that going for you.
They do
nice.
just play basically every other game between now and Christmas.
All right.
So, or every other day between now and Christmas. So, but I think 2 big things came out of the game, of game 2. Number 1, Anthony Simons looked like Anthony Simons again. 15 points in the fourth quarter, took over, finished at the rim, knocked down threes. He looked like himself. I really liked how he got in. Their kerfuffle, as we talked about. Dylan Brooks got mad because he can't maintain his balance and fell over and got in Shaedon Sharpe's face. And it was Anthony Simons who grabbed Dylan Brooks and started talking a whole heap of junk to him. That's not a thing that you see.
Mm-hmm.
And Ant did it with a smile on his face. And he was asked about it in the post game and by Brooke Olzendam. And Ant was like, yeah, I needed to be an instigator there. And I felt like, and you saw Ant smile, which you have not seen all season. And it was nice to see. The other thing that happened, you saw what Denny Avdia can do.
Yeah.
He asks for the assignment after Donovan goes out to guard Şengün straight up. Gets a career high 4 blocks in the game. Grabs 10 rebounds, scores 14, gets to the line, knocks down threes. Every time he got a rebound, he was either pushing himself or firing the ball up court to trigger the offense. And you saw kind of the idea of what you can have when Anthony is firing, when Donovan's rebounding, when Denny's rebounding and pushing pace, like Shaedon's filling in. Like you saw the kind of the idea of what this could be in the future. And I think that's kind of what stood out to me. This is a game where if they play it 100 more times, they probably lose 98 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like legitimately, like they shot 38% from the floor. The number of games that you win shooting under 40% from the floor, not many.
I have a question. So if you take out the Minnesota game where Ant only played 5 minutes and he was out, I was noticing this in that it seems like he's turning the ball over a lot. And you go back and it's 18 turnovers in his last 6 games. If you take that Minnesota one out.
I did notice it in the last game. They were the turnovers that he had were getting caught in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
He jumped in the air and it was like, you could see the look on his face. Like I'm not excusing the turnover, but it looked like he was looking for somebody to be where they were supposed to be, and they weren't. And he ends up throwing a pass. 2 of them went to Jeremy Grant, where they ended up being like passes down at his feet, and Jeremy kind of bobbled it.
It's looked not in rhythm.
Yeah, no, I think they're still kind of, and I think you saw this in game 1, where Ant just kind of seemed to try to fit in, and it didn't work. And I think in game 2, basically, Chauncey Billups said, you need to go be more forceful.
Yeah, you need to be the guy who takes this thing over.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like anything overly alarming. It was just something that seemed, it seems off in like watching, especially on Saturday. It was like, that looks clunky.
Yeah. And I think clunky is the best way to describe the Blazers offense this year, because it's gone through like different iterations of like, okay, Ant's out and Scoot's going to run things. Okay, Shaedon's going to be on the ball a little bit more. Okay, Denny's going to run the offense in the second unit a little bit. And I think you just got to. It hasn't solidified itself as a pecking order.
Okay,
I mentioned that on the post game show. Like the pecking order keeps changing, and I think that it's both good and bad, because hey, if you want it,
you take it.
You can take it.
Yeah.
But nobody's been able to really take it. And honestly, other than Shaedon's 33-point performance, I think Ant having the 15-point fourth quarter is probably the only other one where you saw somebody go, all right, everybody,
hop on.
Yeah, this is how we're going to do this.
All right. Well, it's good to see. It's good to see Ant back and looking like himself, and you saw that in the fourth quarter, which is something that we haven't seen in even before the illness that has held him out.
No, he'll be the first to tell you he's been awful this season.
Yeah.
So, and again, I mentioned it at the top of the show. John Morant was expected to be out. He is expected now to play tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies.
In Memphis, is Jaw's dad going to be sitting courtside?
We'll see. See if old T's there. Let's just say, it'd be nice if Jaw would have been able to do this when they were here.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm selfishly. I haven't seen him play in 3 years live.
But there's only one person that you can blame for that.
Right?
And it's him.
Yeah. Come on.
It is him.
Yeah, they don't play again here until March, so hopefully he doesn't get hurt between now and then.
Yeah.
Selfishly.
Or suspended.
Yeah. Which, both on the table.
I think suspended is more on the table recently than hurt.
Fair. All right, coming up next, we have time for our worst day on the web. And look, he who smelt it dealt it is something that, you kind of cringe at maybe a little bit, but imagine it's in space. But first, here's Big Kahuna Sports on Update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
Bud Light presents a Rivalry Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Week 12 in the NFL wraps up with the Harbaugh. Jim and the Chargers, they are hosting John and the Ravens. 5:15 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. Former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones has cleared waivers. He's now an unrestricted free agent. Potential playoff contender destinations include Baltimore and Minnesota. Defensive end Brandon Graham out for the season after suffering a torn triceps in the Eagles' win over the Rams. Graham had previously said this 15th season would be his last. Raiders quarterback Gardner Minshew also done for the season after suffering a broken collarbone in yesterday's loss to the Broncos. Head coach Antonio Pierce says Aiden O'Connell could be activated from injured reserve by Friday's game at the Chiefs. The Trailblazers continue their road trip tonight against the Grizzlies in Memphis. 5 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle both out. Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Murray are game-time decisions. No Zach Edey, but John Morant will play for Memphis. The Blazers are 11-point dogs. And ESPN's Shams Charania reporting Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis will make his season debut tonight against the Clippers 5 months after having foot surgery. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks.
Did either of you guys ever want to be astronauts? You ever want to go to space?
I do. I do. I want to go to space.
Like if the Elon thing works out and like space travel becomes a thing, you want to do it?
I don't know if I'm going to trust the Elon thing, but
you know what I'm talking about, the commercialization of
yeah.
space.
Yeah, who's the Virgin guy?
Richard Branson.
Yeah,
Branson. He
Yeah.
tried this too.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not going to be on the first ship up. No, somebody else can do that.
26,000th is probably about when I'm.
Right?
Yeah. Price goes down. We've worked through the kinks, kind of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, a couple of them go kapooey. And, I'm like, all right, we're
Not flying on anything named Columbia.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, And have you the greatest is the Elon thing that's happening now with the Cybertrucks. Rust, you retweeted this earlier today.
I hope
Have
it's
you seen
real.
this?
Somebody told me it's fake, but I hope it's real.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know for certain either way.
I want
It's
it
still
to be
funny
real.
though. I want it to be real, really bad.
Okay, so this is probably fake news, but it's so believable. Like there was a photo that I saw Russ tweet out that somebody had said Cybertruck owners are having a problem, and people believe that raccoons are trying to break into them because they're confusing them with dumpsters.
The trash cans.
It's a great picture of like it looks like raccoon paws have been scratching all over this Cybertruck.
I could go one step further where it actually is. I know it is real. Instagram account, a car account, took and polished because they're just
Oh, yeah, I've
sealed
seen
it.
this, yeah.
They polished it all the way through to where it looks like a mirror.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
They got pulled over and cited, and they're like, "Well, what did you cite us for?" And they're like, "Just like you actually."
I don't know. Your car is a mirror.
So, but it turns out it's what they're doing is like doing that is not illegal.
Yeah,
But the cops we're like, we don't like it, basically. But yeah, you can.
I don't
polish,
like it.
You can polish it up to a near mirror finish, and it's like all of a sudden somebody pulls up next to you and you see yourself. It's like
Yeah. Well, driving in the daylight is dangerous.
Yeah,
with that.
you're just a mirror.
Yeah.
Just putting light back in somebody's face. The sun. Just,
Like you get stuck in
blinded
traffic
by
and the
the
sun
light.
hits that car at the perfect angle. You're gonna melt somebody's tire.
yeah,
like
just
it's gonna
gone.
be like the little ray beam, just like
ants everywhere. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But
like start a fire with a panhandler, catches cardboard sign on fire because the light just goes off yours. Come on, what are we doing here? We can't do this.
back to the whole space.
All right,
thing.
space.
I used to be like, yeah, this seems pretty cool. I have grown. I don't have many fears or phobias. Two things I have grown to deeply respect and greatly fear: deep ocean and outer space.
Okay.
I want nothing to do with either of them.
Yeah,
No.
for me, it's called claustrophobia.
Here's the thing: it's not that. It's the what happens if something goes wrong. Because the if something goes wrong in either of those scenarios, it's death. Like there's no like we can solve this, we can fix this. Like
You're gonna die.
Yeah, it's like there's no like you get a little hole in the ship in deep water, boonk, collapses. You get a little hole in space, boonk, collapses.
Yeah. Death.
Death. Like there's no
You're dead.
yeah, there's no way around this. Like
In space, nobody can hear you scream.
yeah, there's it's a vacuum of space. That like a whole thing's terrifying. And so
You've been hanging out with Danny way too much.
Yeah.
That comment right there, you've been hanging out with Danny way too long.
Isn't that from 2001?
Space Odyssey?
Yes.
I don't know.
I believe it is.
could be.
Ugh.
But a Russian ship docked with the ISS, the International Space Station.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And after opening the Progress spacecraft's hatch, Progress is the Russian spaceship that
Okay.
was docking and doing the swap out and bringing supplies, all those kind of things. They said they smelled and observed small droplets and it smelled like death. Which, again, terrifying things or seemingly ordinary. Like if you're in your house, like, oh my God, something stinks.
Stinky.
Are you
Yeah.
telling me somebody pooped in the droplets is what?
They have not been able to identify what it was, but they basically like
Dude.
they put the
Come on,
the
Russia.
scrubbers on like full blast, the air scrubbers,
Yeah.
and were able to like cycle through whatever it was. And one of them said it smelled like rotten paint,
What?
which I don't
I don't know what rotten paint smells like.
I don't either.
That's a very specific smell.
right. Like,
Like it smells like paint, but out your butt.
yeah. Which, sometimes you can paint the back of a toilet, paint it, that kind of a deal.
Man.
But they still don't know. But this is also isn't the first time that something has gone wrong with the Russian side of the ISS.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah, it's the janky Russian spacecraft. But
Yeah.
Saw that borscht.
it just got it got me thinking about like what seemingly normal thing that you dismiss in your house would terrify the living crap out of you in space.
Fire.
Well, I mean, yes, fire is the 100% thing.
Fire.
Of like,
Yeah.
because fire in oxygenated atmosphere go boom.
Yeah.
Which is why literally everything that's in a spaceship is
Fire.
fire retardant.
Yep. Fire is a big one.
Maybe rats.
Oh yeah.
Oh, just chewing through some electrical and causing a
I mean,
fire.
Those get me on Earth too, though.
Yeah. That's what he's saying. Like,
I'm not a rat guy.
Yeah.
It has a rat get
El
up there.
Ratone.
Has a rat get up there? Probably the Russian spacecraft. They're like, oh, we got a little stowaway.
Was that a Russian spacecraft?
That's actually
what
Check
they
the tape.
found. Was no.
So it was.
No.
It was the poo. But, that is, when you tease this, you're like, well, he who smelt it dealt it. I was thinking, like, dude, you're in one of those space suits and you fart. Like, good luck. Game over, dude.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
you're
you're
just
not-
sitting. You're just
you're
sitting
sitting
in it.
in
You're
your
like,
own-
ah!
I mean, you're cooking in your own stew.
Ah! That's like when you go up to the mountain and you're wearing all the base layers, and you let one go, and then all of a sudden it starts like creeping up your shirt, and you're like, yeah, this is awful.
Everybody loves their own brand.
Yeah,
No, they don't.
You need to have the dry
they
suit
don't.
on, the hermetic seal, so it doesn't get up there.
No, it's awful.
But I mean, also
Nothing
think about
like doing the Dutch oven to yourself.
yeah,
huh?
I mean, they have showers in space, but they're not great. You have to have the artificial gravity to have it on. The food that you're eating, not great.
Oh, space ice cream.
Yeah.
Astronaut ice cream?
Yeah.
Hmm?
No?
No?
Not great, Bob.
No.
I can imagine you have to be like, you have to eat this stuff on the ground before you go, right? To make sure your body handles things
But,
accordingly.
Yeah, this is the thing, though. You can't, like, when you go up to space, like, you can't have a last meal on Earth because, like, if you go up and you blow up that toilet up there, that's the bad news bears for everybody.
You can't send the plumbing crew up to fix it.
Quick way to make some enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like they make sure that when you're up in space, like you have to exercise, and they make sure that you're going to the bathroom regularly
Yes.
because I'm assuming space backs you up.
Well, think about it. When you don't have, because they don't always have simulated gravity. Like they don't always have the thing in rotation because it requires a burn to keep it in motion, blah, 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 fuel, all those things. But when there's no gravity, well, then stuff doesn't naturally progress through your digestive tract. Like that's a thing.
Not good. Hey, we have rancid paint smells sour and liquidy and very strong vinegary smell. Well, hey, how about that? How about that? The Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at
Which
Vancouver
could
Ford.
smell like a really bad Ford.
They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I just saw this and I was like, oh dear God. Like what sort of terrifying things could happen in space where you're just like, yeah, that's not good.
Well, what's happening with the people that they're still up there, right?
Oh
They
yeah,
still
I mean
haven't come back?
they're just up there.
No. The people that we're talking the astronauts that have been stranded up there.
Oh yeah, they're
Did
not
they
coming
hitch
back.
a ride back, or
No,
did
they're not
they-
coming back till February.
Yeah.
They need to have a ship that comes full.
That right
cycle.
there, like, hey, if my ride doesn't show up here on Earth, I'm fine. I'll order an Uber. We'll figure out a way. I could hoof it home.
There you go.
No, you're stranded in outer space, for God's sakes, for several months.
Yeah, next thing you know, you're growing potatoes on Mars.
That's right. What?
It's a good movie.
It's the Martian. Matt Damon.
With again coming full circle to the poop, using other people's poop as your fertilizer.
That's right. That's right. That
So-
movie. Can we have circle of trust here? I didn't like The Martian.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's actually like Interstellar was the one for me that I was like, it's good.
Yeah.
But it was like, it's the movie of like best movie of all time.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go back and watch it again and see. Also, we opened today's show and I didn't give my my rating on Gladiator.
Oh yeah, we'll have to get to Gladiator
We'll have
too
to
at
do
some
that.
point. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Next segment we're gonna go NFL, but I'm gonna give you a dealer's choice here: Harbaugh or Saquon.
Saquon.
Okay, we'll talk about Saquon Barkley's utter dominance and how the Mara family has to be kicking themselves next here on Danny Dusty, Danny the Fan.
Russian spacecraft.
Last night for the Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon Barkley put on a show for the ages.
Yep.
26 carries, 255 yards, nearly a 10-yard per touch rushing average, 2 touchdowns, including a 72-yarder. Not to be outdone, 4 catches, 47 yards with a 31-yarder in there. Real quick, doing the math, 302 yards, Dusty, from scrimmage. Is that good?
It's very good, especially when your former team, the New York Giants, only mustered up 245 yards of total offense and 1 touchdown. Single-handedly, Saquon Barkley outperformed the entire New York Giants offense yesterday.
What Barkley did last night was insane. Just not even from a stat standpoint. If you watched him run the ball, every time he touched the ball, it reminded me of Reggie Bush at USC in 04.
Yeah.
It was, oh my God, there he goes again.
Yeah, first of all, the Rams defense is doing some soul searching today.
Yeesh.
But again, Saquon Barkley making the move to Philly, it wasn't just a revenge move on the Giants. It was, let me find a great offensive line and find somewhere else that has weapons that other teams need to account for. And how can I maximize the tail end of my career? Well, guess what? That offensive line is road paving for him. And if you look at New York, his yardage, it wouldn't be like it burns even more for Giants fans because of the fact they chose Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. But I don't know if anybody watched old Tommy Cutlets get absolutely manhandled and that offense not operate at all. The Giants organizationally are broken right now. Like, after the game, the Giants were called soft by an offensive player and a defensive player. Called them soft. Like, though, that is the worst thing that you can say about a football player or a unit on a football team or a team in general. And they had 2 guys say it yesterday. There's big issues, but what Saquon Barkley is doing is truly incredible, and it really makes you think of how good would he have been in New York if they were more competent and better, right? Like, truly, what could they have been? Right now, Philly has the 5th best run blocking offense in the National Football League. The New York Giants are 23rd.
And here's the other thing about this. I was just doing the math real quick. Okay, Saquon now has just under 1,400 yards rushing, 1,392. Do you know how many yards after contact he has this year?
No.
More than 50%. 776 yards.
That's crazy.
After contact.
That's crazy. He has
been phenomenal this year.
Yep.
Phenomenal. He had 156 yards after contact last night.
Yep. And that's one of the things, though, too, is that who's the first guy to touch you is the big one, right? Because if it's a defensive lineman, good luck bringing him, or he's had a better chance to bring him down. If it's a member of the secondary, if it's a safety or a corner or an outside linebacker, Saquon Barkley is going to run through that. And he is. He's a monster. He is so fun to watch. And for Giants fans, they're going through it extra because of just how bad they are. And it is the perfect signal to a fan base that, no, organizationally, what your team is doing is incorrect, and you guys need to fix it. And it's never more apparent than it is right now. They are broken.
Yes. On the flip side, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Again, it's an overwhelming level of talent, but what they have managed to do, 37-20 doesn't even underscore how badly they won that game.
No.
How much they beat the Rams last night. I mean, the Rams tack on one late, get it a little bit more manageable, but that game wasn't close.
Look, they're running away with the NFC East. Like, you're going to put the hay in the barn here in a week or two. Because the Commanders now riding a 3-game losing streak. It is a 3-game lead in the loss column for the Philadelphia Eagles. They are 9-2 on the year. Dude, they're about ready to just pack up this season and say, nope, we're done,
Mm-hmm.
because the Cowboys are still an absolute disaster. The end of that game was the wildest thing
God.
I have ever seen, that Commanders and Cowboys game. Like, nobody should feel good. The NFC East had just sadness all the way around. The Giants get their teeth kicked in. The Commanders lose to the Cowboys in a game that they should not have lost. Your kicker is missing extra points. Well, a bad snap, horrible snap.
Mm-hmm.
And look, that the thing about being a deep snapper, it's the best job in sports, because like you get that job, like
You
as
can
long
keep it for
as
like
you do
20
it,
years.
20 years,
Yeah.
and they never open up.
Nope.
And that's the way you lose that job
Mhm.
as a deep snapper. And they end up missing an extra point. Then the onside kick gets returned for a touchdown. Boy, Murphy's off. It can go wrong. It will go wrong. And it did. There were 31 points in the final 3 minutes and 30 seconds of the Commanders-Cowboys game. 31 combined points in the final 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Think about that. The final score of that game was 34-26. So you're looking at the total.
Mm-hmm.
The total was at 60 points. 31 of those came in the last 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Wild.
Yeah, the Cowboys scoring 24 points in the fourth quarter after managing 10
Yeah.
before
And-
that.
And not needing Cooper Rush to do it. Like that's the crippling part for the Commanders, is that their special teams is what blew that game for them. Whether it is
Also 5 fumbles in that game.
yeah, because
Greased pig.
you have the 99-yard kickoff return.
Mm-hmm.
You have missed extra points. You have an onside kick return for a touchdown. Like, they left so many points on the field.
There's a lot
That-
of
and
lot of
that's-
dumb transpiring,
That's how the Commanders lose.
which
Brutal.
it seemed like the Commanders had gotten that out of their blood, as it
Mhm.
were.
Well, yeah, because they hit another Hail Mary. Like, Terry McLaurin goes 86 yards. Like, we didn't even talk about that before. Like, the extra point
Mm-hmm.
gets blown. 86-yarder, and you're like, oh my God, they're going to win this game. Like, this is Dallas going, no, we're done now.
Roll
Like,
over and die.
We're going to roll over and die. Nope, wrong. It was a missed extra point, and then they house the onside kick.
Unbelievable.
Brutal way to lose.
Unbelievable. All right, coming up next, we'll dive into that game maybe a little bit more, but also just the rest of the NFL. College football weekend was upset filled. There was some wild, wacky, whiny.
Can we talk run the ball? Can we talk run the ball?
Run the ball?
Yeah, I got to run the ball stuff.
Oh, we got some run the ball. Indeed. We'll get to that and more here now. Number 3 on Danny Dusty, 10 the Fan.
On the Fan.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
KFXX, KWJJ, HD2, Portland, 1080 The Fan. An Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. Mixed plates like Grandma used to make. If your grandma were from the Big Island, Woodstock, Burnside, Beaverton, or online at atee-ate.com. First on the Fan, Week 12 in the NFL wraps up with the Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers hosting Brother John and the Ravens. 5:15 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. Raiders quarterback Gardner Minshew done for the season after suffering a broken collarbone in yesterday's loss to the Broncos. Head coach Antonio Pierce says Aiden O'Connell could be activated from injured reserve by Friday's game at the Chiefs. Defensive end Brandon Graham also out for the season after suffering a torn triceps in the Eagles' win over the Rams. Graham had previously said this 15th season would be his last. Former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones has cleared waivers. He's now an unrestricted free agent. Potential playoff contender destinations include Baltimore and Minnesota. In the association, the Blazers continue their road trip tonight against the Grizzlies in Memphis. 5 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. Donovan Clingan and Matisse Thybulle are both out. Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Murray, game time decisions. No Zach Edey for Memphis, but Ja Morant will play. The Blazers are 11-point dogs, and ESPN's Shams Charania reporting Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis will make his season debut tonight against the Clippers 5 months after foot surgery. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has a new long-sleeve tee and hoodies in your favorite college colors. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com. This is Rivalry Week with Danny and Dusty.
Gabriel, snap, wants to throw it, goes fade run out to the left. Was it caught? It was! Touchdown! Evan Stewart.
Bud Light presents a Rivalry Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly, 21 plus.
Rivalry Week with Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Here's the handoff. There's Whittington up the middle. Buster 5, 3, 2. Lowers his head into the end zone. Whittington will not be denied. Get out of my way.
The Fan.
Hour number 3 here on a Monday afternoon on Danny and Dusty, whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 in the fan, or twitch.tv/1080 in the fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for hanging out with us on this lovely, lovely Monday afternoon. We're pivoting back to some NFL coverage. It was an interesting week in the NFL. It started off with our Thursday night game with the Browns pulling the upset on the Steelers in the Armageddon Snow Bowl. And it continued into the weekend where you had an overtime game between the Bears and the Vikings, where it's very clear that Caleb Williams lost 200 pounds this week, 2 weeks ago, in the name of Shane Waldron.
Ooh, buddy.
And boy, does he look astronomically better.
Yeah, he does. He looks far more comfortable. Well, it's amazing when we talked about this before Waldron got fired, in that they have taken away Caleb Williams' strengths in order to try to acclimate him to NFL life.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't do that with it. You don't neuter a player.
No, you accentuate.
You say, you do you be you, but this is where we need to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And Waldron went around about it the entirely wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're seeing Thomas Brown they're maximizing him right now. They're doing a really good job.
Turns out 340 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions,
Yeah.
carrying the ball for another 30 yards. Nearly 400 yards of total offense.
And you know what? Screw the Vikings, though. They're up 24-10 entering the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, 3.5, feeling good about it.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. They win by 3. It was
Yeah,
my only loss this
we
weekend.
both had that one.
What are we doing here?
Stuff.
Come on.
But that game did go to overtime, and the Bears looked like they might have found a little something there, but the Vikings did what they're supposed to do, and they're at 9-2 on the season.
Dude.
They're just flying. Like, the Lions are getting the lion's share of all the coverage, which they deserve.
Dude, the Lions are the best team in the NFL.
Yes.
And by almost any metric, it's not particularly close.
No, look, I know Patrick Mahomes, sleeping giant, blah 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 blah. The best team in the NFL is the Lions.
Right now, they are playing the best. Kansas City flirted with disaster against Carolina, for God's
Against the
sakes.
freaking Panthers. And the Chiefs are now the first team in NFL history to win 8 games by less than 1 score.
Wow. By less than 1 score. By less than a touchdown?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, less than 1 score? I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah. If you look at their wins so far this year, it's absolutely insane. Ravens by 7, Bengals by 1, Falcons by 5, Chargers by 7, Raiders by 7, Bucks by 6, Broncos by 2, Panthers by 2.
Yikes.
They are scraping
they won by
by
3. They won by 3.
I'm sorry, by 3.
Yeah, 3.
I'm sorry, I can't math. They're scraping by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes is not playing like the Mahomes that we know. And again, we can roll our eyes at the sleeping giant thing. They are going to get healthier. They're going to get better, and they're going to
still
be
10-1.
scary. Yeah, they are a terrifying team. But right now, you can be honest. And look, they are going to be hell in the playoffs, and they're getting drug into deep water. And they're finding ways to win. And Mahomes said it yesterday. He's like, I'd like to win by 3 scores. Like, God, I would much rather we do that than this right here. It's not like they're not trying. But when you get drug into deep water, you find out what you have in your guys. And what they have in their guys, they have a bunch of damn winners in Kansas City. What we're seeing in Detroit, though, is you're seeing a team that is an absolute menace.
They are flying all around on both sides of the ball. It looks different, does it not? Like it's a different brand of football than everybody else is playing.
You don't win games the way that the Detroit Lions are winning. Like
pummeling teams into submission
repeatedly. 24-6.
That's not supposed to happen week in, week out.
We don't put that down in the NFL very often. You think of the games that they've won, right? By 3 scores. They beat the Seahawks 42-29. Okay. I guess that would be 2. Right? Yeah.
But you still hung
Seems
42.
47-9 over the Cowboys. 52-14 over the Titans, which just beat the Houston Texans.
Yes.
And C.J. Stroud, the sophomore slump, teams are starting to get a book on him. He Dan Orlovsky'd it, and he's not Dan Orlovsky, but he did that. Then they have a 52-6 beatdown of the Jags, and then they follow it up with a 24-6 win. Like, that's not supposed to happen.
You're
in the
supposed to
National
scrape
Football
by
League.
it with wins, not to the level of what the Chiefs have done, but somewhere in between.
They are pummeling teams, and they're doing it with both sides of the football, which is the terrifying part, right? The fact that they've allowed 12 points over the last 2 weeks, I don't care if it's to the Jags and it's to the Colts. I don't care. It's the NFL. Like, they are manhandling teams, and it's impressive to see. And I don't know, Jared Goff is a guy who deserves a lot more credit. We talk about that, and then I go and I jinx him, and they lose a game, and he plays terrible. But, or actually, no, they lost. They won that game.
They
threw
won
5 picks.
through 5 picks, came back and won.
Yeah. If he does that in the playoffs, you turn into a pumpkin, your season's done. And it could be like in the divisional round, right? But to the extent that their defense has stepped up their game without their best defensive player, who's snapped his leg, right? They are a team
that's the scary thing is
a
this
force to be reckoned with.
This team is missing Hutch.
And they're still doing it. I am so impressed with the Detroit Lions. Their point differential is plus 177.
What's the Panthers?
The Panthers' point differential is minus 146.
So they're better at being good than the Panthers are at being bad.
The next closest team to Detroit is Buffalo at plus 106.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 teams
Plus
with
100.
a point differential over 100 in the entire National Football
Which
League.
is a lot. If your average margin of a game is less than 7 points and you're at week 11, you should expect an above average team to basically be about like a plus 60 to plus 70.
Dude, it's what they're doing to teams it's
outlier stuff.
Mind-boggling.
Yes. Real quick, we talked about the Commanders. They dropped to 7-5, and the Eagles winning. It basically locks down the NFC East for the Eagles. And you mentioned it with the Texans falling. The second-tier teams in the AFC and the NFC, which the Commanders and Texans are, both drop games to opponents they had no business dropping games to. They're both with young quarterbacks, and I think even though they're wildly different in kind of the what happened, it showed the holes that both those teams currently have to address. I think it was an interesting juxtaposition on where those franchises are, and I think you should expect the Texans and Commanders over the next 5 to 7 years to be very good with kind of the foundations that they both set. But it also I think it shows where they're actually at, where they could step on those landmines and not find a Mahomesian way or the Detroit Lions way through them, right? So I thought that was at least mildly interesting as far as like the similarities, even though they're very different in those losses.
The separation is wild in both the AFC and the NFC of the top tier and
the next tier
everybody else's, right? Because in the NFC, you look at it, Detroit, Philly, Minnesota is going to be a wild card team. You know, they're 9-2 right now.
Imagine you're another wild card team in there. And you're like, how the hell? No, come on, man. Like, Minnesota?
Right. Yeah. Or it's like they're going to have to go on the road to a team like Atlanta or Seattle, which 6-5 for both of those teams.
And they get you win your division, and that's what you come up with.
But we've seen this before with Seattle. That was a huge win for the Seahawks over the Cardinals.
Which is a perfect place. Let's go there next, because you had a massive shift in the NFC West, and could we have seen the end of the 49ers as they currently stand?
Yup.
We'll get that here on Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan. Continuing on in the NFL, two massive games in the NFC. First of all, between the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers, or at least what's left of the San Francisco 49ers. Absolutely decimated by injury. Brandon Allen is out there at quarterback. The Green Bay Packers annihilate the 49ers 38-10. It was not a ball game. It was not worth throwing on your screen. It was a absolute and utter bloodbath.
You know my run the ball stat here? My run the ball stat that you can
Run the ball.
The top 4 rushing teams in the NFL this year: Philadelphia, Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit.
Weird.
They are combined 34-10 on the season. Run the ball.
The pendulum has swung back.
Win the game.
Look, you always had to be able to run the ball to win, but it has become the pendulum has swung back away from the quarterback. It's still the most important position in football. All those things all still hold true. Teams that run the ball and play defense win in the NFL, and it is becoming the norm again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And like if you look at it and you say, all right, who are the outliers then? Well, it's Kansas City, who is middle of the pack running the football at 116 yards per game, and Buffalo, which is
a physical team.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12th in the NFL at 119 yards per game. Like, those are the outliers of teams that are winning football games but not running the ball at that level. It always has been, like, everybody talks about Tom Brady being the greatest quarterback of all time. His best teams were the ones where they ran the ball. They were top 7 in team rushing.
Weirdly enough, you don't hear about Corey Dillon all that often.
Yeah, or Kevin Falk, or like they had good running games.
Really,
and they did it by committee for most of it. The Corey Dillon they got a workworkse and they rode
him. You go look at Corey Dillon. Everybody wants to talk about Corey Dillon with the Bengals, and yeah, for sure. Go look at Corey Dillon with the Patriots. He was an absolute monster.
Yes.
But beyond the running the ball stats, the 49ers their season is basically done at this point, even at 5-6, even with where the NFC West is, because they're 2-3 in the division. And more importantly, for the 49ers, beyond even the injuries and where they could get back, the Seahawks, with their win, moved to 3-4 in the division, 6-5, and they kind of hold what little bit of control is available in the NFC West because of all of the different head-to-heads. And it's a weird spot to be somehow that close as the 49ers, but seemingly so far away because of all of the injuries, because of the head-to-heads they've lost. The path for them to win this division requires a lot of help.
Yeah, and look, they have a split with the Seahawks, which each team won on the road, which is a weird anomaly there. So you have a split there. The 49ers just seem broken to the nth degree. I mean, obviously injuries have played a huge role in that, and they always are injured. Like Bosa brother will always be hurt.
Yes.
I think that's a rule in the National Football League that either Nick or Joey needs to be hurt. But now Brock Purdy is dinged up with that shoulder that held him out of the game. You've got Brandon Ayuk down with an ACL injury. Like, it just always is mounting up, and this year is not the 49ers year. The worst thing that they could do is just panic and clean house on everybody, because your window, like last year, was your year, right? You have one more year where you can go, all right. You can
stretch it. It's going to hurt you.
But it is also puts into perspective on how dominant and how special the Kansas City Chiefs are on their run right now, in that they have been wildly healthy. They're getting dinged up this year and still finding ways to win.
And they're already paying their quarterback.
Yeah, and they did it on a 10-year deal that everybody at the time was like, what is going on here? Well, that $500 million deal that they gave Patrick Mahomes, going to be a bargain.
Well, not only that, it's going to start hitting here soon.
Well, it's going to be a bargain still, though, because of what everybody else is getting paid, and he's got that security. And look, they've got a quarterback that all he wants to do is win, and he'll continue to take the quote-unquote pay cut, which is just kicking the can down the road, and the team's going to eventually have to pay for it, a la the New Orleans Saints, who are still paying for kicking the can down the road for Drew Brees all those years in salary cap hell. But if you can get over them, it's worth it for Kansas City right now.
Title, go ask the Los Angeles Rams if they're mad about it right now.
Yeah, and
the answer is no.
That is where the uneasiness and the unrest is coming with San Francisco, because then you have teams like Seattle, and what Mike McDonald's doing with Seattle is they're just plugging away. They've been getting better every single week. You're starting to see the imprint of his identity on that team, winning 16-6. Arizona going to a gloomy Lumen Field yesterday was the most predictable thing in that their offense wouldn't be able to produce and they wouldn't show up, and the Seahawks just ground out a win. Now you look at it, Seattle, winners of 2 in a row. They go to the Jets this week, and then you're feeling pretty damn good about where you're at if you're Seattle, man. Like, you could start peeling off quite a few wins here. Green Bay and Minnesota both have to go to Lumen Field. You got a trip to Arizona mixed in there. But it looks like if Seattle continues to play mistake-free, and that's the big one, is that, like, Gino's got to take care of the ball. You got to play damn near not perfect. You have to play efficient offensive football. Give your defense a chance.
Okay, here's your 2 schedules. You're the 49ers and you're beat to hell, and there was just an update that Brock Purdy had some light throwing today. Okay. Bosa, I don't know. McCaffrey he played, but did he play? Getting what did he have, 4 carries in the game? Knowing all of that, the 49ers play at the Bills this week. The Bears, who, again, better, still the Bears. The Rams, who have been a thorn in their side for some weird reason. At the Dolphins, the Lions, and then at the Cardinals. Okay? How many games are they winning in there? 2? Maybe 3?
Yeah, it all depends on if those guys that you're talking about are healthy. If Purdy's there, if Bosa's there.
Do you trust they're going to be healthy? Because I don't.
Purdy, yeah. Yeah, you do, but the shoulder kind of came out of nowhere for people, but I think that if they're healthy though, they could run the table. They could.
Run the table at the Bills and home against the Lions?
Yeah, because where are the Lions going to be at that point?
It's the second to last week, not the last week.
Yeah, second to last week.
So it might still matter.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
It might.
But
the Vikings are only a game behind them.
Yep. But they are a team that is good enough to do that. Okay. I wouldn't be stunned if they go to Buffalo and win.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't.
I would, just with how they played, even when they've been healthy.
If they're healthy, like, they are talented enough to beat anybody.
Sure.
Anybody. They have so many warts, though.
Here's who you have if you're the Seahawks.
I think they're done, but
yeah.
I wouldn't be absolutely stunned if they, have one loss down the stretch and you're sitting there and you're looking at one more loss would put them at 10-7 on the year. If they go 5-1 down the stretch, I'd be like, yeah, they're going to grind for it, and it's not going to be pretty. But I wouldn't be stunned if they went 5-1, were 10-7, and sitting there in the wild card.
Your Seahawks schedule down the stretch: at the Jets, at the Cardinals, so they get that squared away. Packers, Vikings, Bears, Rams. It's not an easy road to hoe there either.
No, it's. And that's the thing about the NFC West is that, like, that was the whole playoff probability and predictor thing last week, and I was like, how does Seattle have such a narrow chance, but San Francisco doesn't? Because a lot of those opponents are common opponents that they're going to be playing down the stretch, and that tells you what they think of San Francisco's talent. But with Seattle, I look at more, all right, what teams do you get at home? You get the 2 toughest teams in that stretch at home, in Green Bay and Minnesota.
And you go to Arizona and New York.
Yep.
Which
and
not exactly hostile crowds.
And Chicago, which sign me up.
Yeah.
Day after Christmas.
That's a good game.
That game is going to be in Chicago. We're going to probably have snow.
Probably.
Let's go.
I like the fact that we're looking at more snow games this year. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Those are real things.
Snow games, they're awesome to watch. They're horrible to play in, but they're awesome to watch. I love watching snow football. And I can't wait for the college football playoff too, because you could, like, if you look at where some of these games may be, like, think about this. State College, Pennsylvania, in mid-December, hosting a game.
Boise State, hosting a game.
Boise, and that's usually around the time of the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And
it is usually that is icy. So much snow.
I remember going there one year, and it was Georgia Tech, Fresno State. The Georgia Tech guys were like, "What is this kind of cold?"
Yeah, Fresno gets a little bit of that every now
They-
and then, once every 15 years or so. They're
Georgia
not-
Tech was like, nah,
we've never seen anything
we're
like
not
this.
about this life.
No. And that's, again, if you're not going to put
Gets
boys in
cold
the
in
top
Atlanta,
4,
but-
which they probably shouldn't at this point, give them a home game. Give them a home game.
Give them a home game. I doubt they're going to do that.
Please do it.
Not going to do it.
All right, coming up next, the last couple of weeks, we've had so much coming out of the week that we haven't even had a chance to talk about Monday Night Football without getting to the next day. This time, we have to because it's the Harbaugh. Harbaugh. There we go. Coming up next year on Danny Dusty. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with the Sports on Update.
You ever had a big kahuna burger?
Bud Light presents a Rivalry Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Week 12 in the NFL indeed wraps up with the Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers hosting Brother John and the Ravens. 5:15 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. Raiders quarterback Gardner Minshew done for the season after suffering a broken collarbone in yesterday's loss to the Broncos. Defensive end Brandon Graham out for the season as well after suffering a torn triceps in the Eagles' win over the Rams. Former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones has cleared waivers. He's now an unrestricted free agent. Potential playoff contender destinations include Baltimore and Minnesota. And after wishing Nick Muse a happy birthday earlier today, the Vikings have now announced they have waived the tight end. Over in the association, the Blazers continue their road trip tonight against the Grizzlies in Memphis. 5 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle, both out. Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Murray are game-time decisions. No Zach Edey for Memphis, but Ja Morant will play. The Blazers are 10.5-point underdogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Auto accident,
First family of football reunites yet again to have another showdown. Jim versus John, the Harbaugh. The Los Angeles Chargers at 7-3, taking on the Baltimore Ravens at 7-4.
Let's go.
Quick update. The Harbaugh parents will not be in attendance for tonight's game.
Hey, that's a bummer.
They will be with Tom Crean and the Harbaugh daughter celebrating their 63rd anniversary together.
Oh, what? It's on Monday Night Football? Oh, my goodness.
And you had to know they had a feeling about this, what was happening, so.
Well, yeah, they knew it. I remember that when the schedule came out. That was something Jim said, is it's their parents' 63rd wedding anniversary. Or I didn't remember it was 63, but it was the wedding anniversary on the date that Jim and John go head-to-head. John is 2-0 against his brother in the NFL.
Interesting.
Obviously, Super Bowl being a pretty big one. Yeah. That's a big one. ESPN did the big Sports Center special edition thing about the Harbaugh, and Jim said something that was awesome in my opinion, because he's like, I finally get to sit at the big kids table because of the fact that John is Super Bowl. My dad had won a national championship. Now I get a national championship too. Like all three of them have won championships.
Also, John was quick to correct the ESPN writer who did the profile. He is not 2-0 against his brother. He's 3-0, including a preseason game in 2014.
Never forget that.
No, are you kidding me? Hyper-competitive family?
Yeah.
You're going to lord every last one over the other.
And you know that Jim is stewing in every loss to his brother, preseason or regular season. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. I love both of the Harbaughs. They are the best thing in football.
I mean, okay, Jack
They're
Harbaugh,
lunatics.
the patriarch of the family.
Nobody does it better than us.
Yeah. He was asked whether or not Jim has fully come to terms with the loss in the Super Bowl, and he says, I think he's still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in what year?
2016? Yeah, something like that. 15, 16,
We're closing in on 10 years.
Well, you don't get over crippling losses like that. You never do.
Crippling losses to your brother.
Yeah, you never will ever get over those. And thank God the lights went out, right? Because that game was, whoa, Nelly, sideways.
The conspiracy theories on that have not gone as far as I'd hoped they would.
Yeah, because
we don't even have like a good like Cal Ripken Jr. consecutive games streak with the power going out.
Yeah.
Like nothing comes close to that.
I think with that it is that they're both families are lunatic. Both coaches are lunatics because they're from the same family.
Same family, yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, who would this conspiracy? What did they want out of that conspiracy? That's the bigger one right there. Is that you got to have one like lopsided? Like, was it Mama Harbaugh cutting the lights and calling the fight off, and then was like, maybe this will recharge the
flipping
boys.
the light switch to get their attention?
Yeah. Stop beating up on your brother.
Hey, click.
I can't wait for this game though, because
who's it a bigger game for? Who needs it more? Chargers or Ravens?
I think the Chargers do.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think Jim needs it more. I think Jim needs it more than John, but the Ravens need it more than the Chargers.
I think the Chargers need it because they're on a 4-game heater right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing well, but that last game, remember that Cincinnati game that they're coming off of, where it was like one of those nail biters. You're letting them. You had to grind out a win against a team that was backed into a corner. You have to realize the Chargers have got a visit to Arrowhead. They've got the Broncos left, the Buccaneers left. Like, they need to start stacking wins in that wild card race. I think it's huge for them. For Baltimore, they're looking at the AFC North, and I mean, Pittsburgh is leading that division, but they can chase down.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, who they face down the stretch? They have the Chargers tonight, Eagles next week, Giants, then the Steelers, then the Texans and Browns.
Yeah,
it's not an easy schedule.
This is a great Monday night game for that reason.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think the Chargers need it because they need a win that they can hang their hat on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what's their best win so far? The Broncos.
Yeah,
beating the Broncos. I mean, Saints, Browns, Titans, Bengals are their 4-game win streak. Their other 2 wins are against the Raiders and the Panthers.
I'd argue the Bengals is a big win just because again, Bengals 4-7, but
I know.
Burrow
went off. He had to play perfect.
And the Chargers managed. It was the first time this season the Chargers scored more than 27 points.
Yeah, but against a 4-win team.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you go back. It was a win over Bo Nix in Mile High, a rookie quarterback.
God. Yeah. Okay.
They need a pelt on their wall.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I just have like this.
Like we have a belief that Baltimore can beat good teams.
Yeah, we do. But when they have matched up, the Steelers undressed them. The Chiefs or not Baltimore, for San Diego. Like that's they had no offense whatsoever. When you look at the Ravens, aren't the Ravens kind of in the same boat though?
No, they beat the Bills. I mean, they've beaten the Bills. They waxed the Broncos 41-10. They beat the Buccaneers by double digits.
But they also that same Bengals team, they beat by 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then they beat that same Bengals team by 3.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that Bills
division
game,
games.
Yeah,
division games you can't throw out.
I mean, that crappy Cowboys team they beat by 3.
Isn't that the stories of the Bengals like all season long?
Being on the other side of that,
the 1-score games.
As much as the Chiefs are 10-1, the Bengals could very easily be like 9-2.
Yeah,
but
they're 4-7.
Very, very dumb place. Also, that Bills game is looking like maybe the biggest aberration of the season.
Really?
Yes.
How so?
You had a Bills team that didn't nut up defensively and a Ravens team that played defense. And even then, I don't think either one of those are true because Josh Allen forgot how to play football.
Yeah. Baltimore also, I mean, we much maligned their defenses this season. They held that Bills team to 10.
Mm-hmm.
They held the Broncos to 10, right? And they just lost a game to the Pittsburgh Steelers where they didn't score a touchdown.
Also, Steelers.
Right? But they didn't score a touchdown. That's what bad defenses don't do that in the NFL. And so it's like, are they ever going to figure it out and show consistency in those games? And that's a massive question mark that we have moving forward. Crazy.
So
6 field goals.
I'm excited about this game. I will.
Good if you have Boswell as your kicker.
Yeah,
fantasy.
I will be watching it on the second screen tonight.
Yeah, because the Blazers have the Memphis Grizzlies.
The Blazers have the Memphis Grizzlies tonight with John Morant. So we can talk about that and a few other things here to wrap up today's show. But that's a little bow on today's show. But I'll hand you over to Isaac Suk here for Primetime here on Dan and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a Blazers report on the Fan. The inside story on the Portland Trail Blazers. Brought to you by Aztec Willie's Taqueria.
As we just mentioned, the Portland Trail Blazers do take on the Memphis Grizzlies, and a slight change as the Memphis Grizzlies are getting back John Morant tonight. Slight little change in the line, bumping up to an 11-point line for the Memphis Grizzlies as the favorite as the Blazers are on the road. Game 4 of this road trip before they wrap things up in Indiana. The Portland Trail Blazers will be without Donovan Clingan tonight as well after banging his knee against the Houston Rockets. We're waiting on an update for him to see where he currently stands. It sounds like DeAndre Ayton could make his return very soon. Everybody else, for the most part, we're still waiting on an update on Scoot Henderson to see if he'll be available. He was day-to-day last game. This Trailblazers report on the Fan is brought to you by Aztec Willie's Taqueria, the best place to go before and after games or any event. Check it out on the corner of Southeast 50th and Broadway, AztecWillies.com.
Aztec Willie's Taqueria has
Portland Trailblazers do take on the Memphis Grizzlies tonight, and John Morant is making his return. What is unclear is the status of a couple different Trailblazers as it pertains to the medical report. Donovan Clingan did take a little bit of a knee knock in the Game 2 against the Houston Rockets. Scoot Henderson, a little bit of a back strain and a knee or a thigh contusion. Two different incidents, one taking a knee to the thigh, the other getting involved in a mild car accident in Houston on Thursday.
Crazy.
The good news is for the Portland Trailblazers, it does sound like DeAndre Ayton is getting closer. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't play tonight, that if he played in Indiana. If not, by the time they get back, I would expect he's probably going to play. The good news is between now and January 8th, the Blazers do not have a back-to-back game, which means Robert Williams III should be available, knocking on all the things mostly would, for every game. I wouldn't be surprised if they do hold him out, though, because, like I said, they do basically play every other night between now and Christmas. So I would expect that they maybe sneak some rest in for him there, because they're going to, with DA and DC out, they're going to lean on him a little bit more. We're going to see some Denny Avdia center minutes tonight.
Oh.
I mean,
he did well against Houston.
He's a great rebounder. He's very strong, and it presents a different look.
Boy, and I'm looking at these games in between now and Christmas, and you're like, all right, which teams play small ball? None. Indiana, Sacramento, Dallas, Clippers, Utah, LA,
it's a bunch of
the Lakers,
big old teams.
Denver, San Antonio, Dallas again. Like, that's a gauntlet, dude, of big physical dudes.
The good news for the Blazers is when they do come back home and they face Dallas, it does sound like Luka is still going to be out.
Oh,
so
I mean, is that
selfishly for me? I don't get to watch Luka play, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
It's like no Ja, very little Zion, now no Luka. Come on, quit resting when you come to Portland, you monsters. They've all been hurt. So, but again, the point spread tonight is 11 in favor of the Grizzlies. What's also a bummer is you don't get to see.
Has that gone up since?
Was it
started
10?
at 10.5, immediately shot up to 11.5, then almost immediately after that down to 11, and at my last update it had gone down to 10.5 again.
Oh wow,
that's because they're betting the Grizzlies.
Yeah. Russ isn't looking at that line at all, though.
Hey, you got to keep updated on my updates.
You absolutely do.
The most recent information.
Win that money. Retirement. What?
There you go. I will say the Blazers have been tremendous against the spread this season. Vegas has no idea what to do with them.
No, we've talked about this. A team with as much variance in so many different aspects of their game.
Outliers.
How do you predict the unpredictable?
The thing I think you should, if you're, again, for entertainment purposes only, if you're doing anything with the Blazers, it's the under.
Yeah, dude.
It's the under. They are grinding teams to dust. And it's not that they're playing slow. It's just that I call them Swamp Thing. They reach up out of the swamp and they pull you into the muck. They don't hop on land with you. One of the things I'm writing right now is stylistically what they do. Hopefully I'll have it out tomorrow, but I'm taking a look at just how many games they've won shooting under 40% and how often they're making opponents shoot under 40% and how close those games are, because they basically they go full David and Goliath and just go, we got to rock, we got to sling.
We're gonna hit you in the knees enough times. Maybe we'll run between your leg with some rope and you'll trip on your feet.
Get the at.
Ah,
there you go.
Gotcha.
Like
the old Empire Strikes Back treatment.
So,
don't know that reference, but
figure vortex line. Blazers can't even lose correctly. Look, they're 7-10 right now. Look at the schedule. Look at where they're at injury wise. Expect losses to pile up. They're 2 wins ahead of schedule right now.
Yeah, I'm bummed we don't get Edie Clingan.
No, it's fun because there was real beef there.
Mm-hmm.
There was real, Zach Edey had a workout in Portland that was tremendous. And I think he felt like he might have a chance to come here. But I think he ended up in the best place for him in Memphis. I think he could be a grit and grind, post masher that really fits well with that team.
Yeah.
So, and the Blazers took the upside on Clingan. And you're seeing kind of what that could be. It's a good place to be.
I hope we see a closely contested loss.
There you go.
That's what I hope.
Babe.
And it's nothing against the Portland Trail. It is everything to do with Cooper Flagg. Looked really good.
Yeah, 30 seconds on Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg was 3 of 10 in the game against Arizona in the first half. Struggled to an extent. Was rebounding, had knocked down a 3, blocked a shot, had a steal. He closed the game 7 of 10 and absolutely dog walked the Arizona Wildcats out of the building.
Whoa, Nelly.
Reminder, Cooper Flagg, 17 years old. He is not 18 until next month.
All right. I
So
like that.
he has had 22, 6-4, 2-2 against Arizona, and 26-12, 4-2 against Kentucky.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He's pretty. The turnovers though. Don't draft Cooper Flag.
Don't drive.
'cause of
No,
turnovers.
no. The ball control's a problem.
We'll have a little bit more on this tomorrow. There is a recruit that I read this article on in The Athletic over the weekend. His name is Toby Hastrup. He plays football in the state of Texas. He has released today his list of the final 6 schools, and his top 6 are USC, Michigan, Texas Tech, Florida State, Missouri, and Oregon. At the beginning of this summer, he asked this question to one of his coaches. What is a first down? He has never played football before, and after his first game, he had 12 Division I offers, and his final 6 are the schools that I just read. 6'4", 235, runs a 10.700. We'll talk about him tomorrow.
Goodness.
All right, 4 hours of power. Their mouths to your ears. Primetime with us. Good soup. Next, right here on The Fan.
Bye. Oh, my God.
Wow, look at these Black Friday